Welcome back to Two Gun Terry and Friends. I am Two Gun Terry, and today I'm here with my cousin Tom. Say hello, Thomas.
Hello, everybody.
And we are loading and going to shoot a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum firearm. And we're going to make the bullets to do it.
Are you ready?
All right, so Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. What exactly am I talking about? It sounds like a big round, doesn't it? Let me show you something here. First up, this is my 22 rimfire, 22 long rifle rimfire round that we shoot in rimfire rifle open guns, rimfire pistol open guns. It's 22 long rifle. Okay. Next is our custom 9mm rounds that we use in our PCC and our centerfire pistols. And finally, the rounds that we're working on today, they fit into a revolver, and this is the size of the bullet we're working on today. Let me show you what this looks like here next to each other. So there's the 22 round. Here's my 9mm round, and this is the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum round. As you can see, I think this holds, I don't even know what that holds for gunpowder. These hold somewhere around 3.5 grains of gunpowder, and this holds 41 grains at 370 grain bullet. So let me show you what we do to make some of these things. So I've gone to my Lee reloading manual for the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. We are using a 370 grain bullet first and then a 500 grain bullet later. But for the 370 grain lead bullet, which we're using, we decided to use the Hodgson little gun, which is the one on top there. And a couple of columns over, it shows that the velocity is 1,831 feet per second. And we can go as high as 44.5 grains of gunpowder, of little gun. And then we can get 1,949 feet per second with a PSI of almost 50,000. Oh my goodness gracious. So we want to make sure that we load these rounds correctly. This is the firearm that we're going to be shooting today. This is a buddy of mine lent this to me. And in fact, we're making some rounds for him to shoot through this firearm. And we're going to test it first ourselves. But that is what the revolver looks like. I got news for you. Here's my hand. You can see how big this thing is. And by the way, oh, good Lord, I wish I could share this somehow on the video. This thing weighs a freaking ton. I'd imagine it would have to weigh that much just to be able to handle these rounds. But this is a beautiful Smith & Wesson. I forget what he calls it, a K frame, a J frame, X frame, whatever frame it is, with a little compensator on the front. And you can see right there, 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. Beautiful, beautiful firearm. All right, but it's not any good without any bullets, so let's get making some. Pop the primers out first so we can get the primer pockets as clean as we can get them. In my case, I have a sonic cleaner. This is made by Hornady, this one. There's a basket here, it comes up out of there. And the water vibrates back and forth fast enough to remove the dirt. In fact, you can see the dirty water in there. That was just from those 45 cases that we wiped. And we used, this is kind of worn, this bottle's stained, but it's the Hornady one-shot cleaning solution for brass cases. We run it through the dryer, basically a fancy blow dryer dehydrator thing. And there's a bunch of racks in there. We set the brass in the rack like that and let the dryer do its thing. So we got the brass nice and dry and we're ready to start loading it. And then we take it over here to our machine and we clean the primer pocket on this guy and we turn them over and we just deburr the outside of the case and then the inside of the case just to make the bullet go in nice and smooth and not cut any of the edges. Tom, let me see one of those bullets over there. The actual bullet itself. All right. So just even next to the 22 round, that's just the bullet that's going inside. That's just the size of the bullet. So today that's a 370 grain lead casted performance bullet with a copper base. Tommy, what did you say that copper base was for? What did you see that copper on the bottom does?
I am not sure. I believe it's for the ballistics when you're loading it into the case, so it doesn't deform the bullet as it's going through the barrel. Any imperfection you see in these cases, you want to catch it before you go out shooting 42 grains of powder through it.
Yeah, especially at 500.
Yeah, especially one of these rounds. So you want to be really picky on what you do. The staining I'm not worried about. It's the cracks, micro cracks. You really have to look these cases over carefully as you're doing it.
Yep. All right, so Tommy's starting to prep one of these cases. Cleaning out the primer pocket first. He's trimming the outside of the case and now the inside of the mouth of the case. Just to remove any burrs, and then he runs it up and down the brush to clean out the inside of the case. That case has already been through the cleaner, so it is ready to be loaded. While Tommy finishes up cleaning up those cases, I'm just showing you the overall dimensions of the case, which in this case is 1.625 for the shell casing itself, and 2.1 inches once we mount the bullet into it is the maximum overall length. So as you can see on the micrometer, that's 1 inch, 1.6 inches to 4. So that was a 1624. The book says 1625, no longer than 1625, so we're going. Our next step is to start priming them. And for this particular round, we're going to use we're using Federal Premium Match Grade Large Rifle Primers. They look something like that. And we're going to go ahead and install them. We're using our rock chucker here. We're doing one stage at a time. It's a very violent round, so we want to make sure we pay attention to every single thing we do. So Tommy just put a primer in there. Take a case, Tom, and put it on.
You look to bring the stroke up a little bit. Place your case in. Firmly seat it. That's it.
That's it. It's primed. Let me see the bottom. Yep, that's it. Primer's in.
Primer.
Nice and flat. We're ready to go.
There you go.
50 more times and we'll be good to go. And by the way, the key here, right, is taking your time. Do everything. Make sure you don't make any mistakes, because this is truthfully, it could cause serious injury or worse, death, if we make any mistakes here. So we're very careful with what we're doing. I didn't want Tommy to have all the fun, so I'm here loading some primers myself and get these next 50 built up. See what a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum feels like. From what I understand, it's not a pleasant firearm to shoot. So I'm not really looking forward to it that much, but I'm looking forward to it a little. All right, so Tommy and I have been debating back and forth whether we can use large rifle primers with this particular load, or do we have to use a large rifle Magnum primer with this particular load. So we're getting conflicting information from Hodgkin's website versus the Lee manual. Lee manual looks like it got its information right from Hodgkin's website because it matches exactly for the powder we're using, little gun. But the Lee manual says large rifle, and Hodgkin says large rifle Magnum. So what I have here are two empty shells, with one has a large rifle primer and the other one has a large rifle Magnum primer. And the difference, as far as we can tell, the difference is the Magnum primer throws more flame faster, deeper into the cartridge and burns the gunpowder more quickly and evenly to make the shot more consistent, versus the large rifle, which doesn't throw as much flame into the powder and therefore burns inconsistently, is what the books have said, or the websites that we've checked out have said. What we're going to test for is to see how big the flame is coming out of the front of this 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum Revolver. By the way, the thing's got away. If you don't hit him with the bullet, smack him in the head with this friggin' gun, because this must weigh 5 pounds. I've never felt such a heavy pistol in my life. All right, so I'm going to load the 2 rounds. The one that has a little black slash on it is the Magnum primer, and the one without it is the regular rifle primer. And I'm setting it up so that we fire the regular primer, the large rifle primer, first. All right, so here we go. The only reason I'm shooting this in my garage is because A, I'm not married. I have nobody to tell me what the hell you're doing, Terry. and B, it is just the primer, and I'm firing it in a safe direction, blah, blah, blah. There's nobody else home except for me and Tom. So, all right, here we go. That is the large rifle primer. You get the front of this muzzle there, Tommy, because it's all about the flame. On 3, you ready? Or on 1, I should say. 3, 2, 1. All right, so that should bring me to... I was able to cock it, Tom. Before, when we were testing, the primers were coming out of the back of the case. We weren't sure what that was about. Anyway, we'll check that in just a second. This is the Magnum primer now, and I'm expecting it to be a little louder and probably a bigger flame. Not much bigger, it's just the primer. But here we go. On 1. 3, 2, 1. So they both sounded like firecrackers to me. Let's see if we can get these things out of here now. So, here's my glasses. Now that's interesting, Tom. Take a look at this. The primers are still, first of all, you can see they're fired. And you can see that they're still relatively flush to the case. During our earlier testing, they were coming out some. And these did back out a little bit. Let me take them out of the firearm and we'll we'll inspect them a little closer. Put that down in a safe direction. So before we were experiencing the primer backing out of the case a bit. This one did actually, very, very little. But the earlier we were afraid that it was going to jam the cylinder from turning in the firearm when you cocked it to fire the next round. That didn't happen. It cocked just fine. And the cylinder rotated just fine. And actually the Magnum round did the exact same thing. Just backed out, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch, less than that maybe, a 32nd of an inch. So...
Welcome back to Terry Two Guns. This is Tom, his sidekick, giving him a help here. Unbelievable the size of these bullets. But we're going to load up 20 rounds. We're going to take 10 of them and load them up with 370 grain bullet at 42.5 grains. And then we're going to take 10 bullets and load them with 500 grain bullets.
With about 28.5 grains of powder. So after much debate, we decided to take out the rifle primers, the large rifle primers, and put in large rifle Magnum primers. With a caliber this hot, or this big, or this, I don't know what, destructive, we didn't want to take any chances. We didn't want to screw around. We were getting mixed signals from various sources, but in the end, the Hodgdon website specifically called for large rifle Magnum primers. So we decided they make the powder. They know what's going on here. They had a recipe exactly for the caliber, for the number of grain bullet we're using. So we decided to stick right with the book and go with that. So that's what we're doing. The Lee book had the exact same information, with the exception of they said we could use a large rifle primer and didn't say anything about Magnum. But we had both, and we decided just to opt on the side of caution and go with the hotter primer. So that's what we did.
We shot off the large rifle primer. We also shot off a Magnum primer just so you can see the difference in the fire coming out of the barrel. And there was a clear difference from the large rifle primers and the large rifle Magnum primers.
Yep. So Tommy's got just about the first 10 done here. We got another 2 or 3 to go. And this will be our first, this will be the 370 grain bullets that we're going to put together. We decided to go with 42.5 grains, which is right down the middle. The person we're making these rounds for, that's what he asked for. He wanted to be right in the middle of the low and the high. So it made sense. We'll just go with some 42.5 grain on the Hodgdon little gun. All right, so we're at 42.5. We've already made 10 rounds of the 370 grain bullet. So now I'm going to bang out another 10 rounds of the 500 grain bullets. We're going to stay with the same powder, little gun for now. And according to the manual, it said 27 was the starting point for the bullets that we have, and 30 was the maximum. So again, we're going to split the difference and probably do a 28.5, falling well within the safe parameters. Remember, I'm making these rounds, I'm testing these rounds, I'm working up a load for a buddy of mine. This is not my pistol, something I've been dying to shoot and see how it works. I mean, 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, mamma mia. That should be a heck of a ride. We'll find out tomorrow. Ironically, well, not ironically, but I have a match in the morning. So I'm going to go up and shoot my Steel Challenge match. First thing, I'll be up there around 8 o'clock in the morning. It's about an hour from here. So I'll leave at 7 in the morning. And then after the match, meet Tommy at another range and test run that 500 Smith & Wesson. So a firearm-filled day tomorrow. Very excited. We're going to go ahead and put away these large rifle match primers, which, by the way, I use in my 6mm Creedmoor, so I'm happy to hang on to these anyway. But Ben is my friend, and I'd like to take care of him. Fortunately, Tommy had some of the large rifle Magnums, also match Federal Premium Match primers, so we're using those in these next couple of rounds. So let's get started. Put that away. These are the cartridges we've already cleaned and prepped and inserted the Magnum primers. So these are ready to go. And this is that big sucker, man, that 500 grain 50 caliber bullet. And it's 50,000 PSI pushing on the 370s. It is also 50,100 PSI on these 500s. So it is a very, very powerful round. 50,000 PSI is really up there. So we want to make sure everything is done absolutely perfect and correctly. And so far we have done exactly that. So the next step is to start getting some powder ready. So we're going to turn on our dispenser, our automatic dispenser. And I'll show you what we do with this. This is my RCBS dispenser. It has some fancy name, Charge Master 1500. I've had it for 4 or 5 years, maybe more than that actually. And we do have the little gun powder inside the dispensing tube. I'm going to double check my tray to make sure that it is empty, my pan. And it is empty. I'm going to go ahead and actually we're going to clear the surface here as well. Gunpowder is sticky. I don't know if you realize it, but gunpowder is sticky. And it doesn't just fall away. You have to help it sometimes. So that is what I'm done. All right, we'll put that back in there. And the first step to dispensing an accurate load is to let's calibrate the scale. And if you notice on the readout there that it says it's stable, so it's ready for the next step. So you hit calibrate. It'll call for the 50 gram weight, which is this. And it is grams, not grains. But it will change to grains when we do the actual powder. You'll see that the stable light is lit, so I hit the C again, calibrate. And now I take out the other 50 and put 100 grains on there. Wait for it to stabilize. It is stable. We'll hit the calibrate button again. And once that clears, we are good to go. So we set that back, clean everything off. We're going to add our pan. It should be somewhere around 152.6. That's it. And I'm going to go ahead and hit 0. And now we're ready to go as far as dispensing of powder. So I'm going to go ahead up here now, and I'm going to enter in what I wanted. I wanted 28.5. So 28.5. Enter. And we'll hit the enter button, the dispense button, and it'll start to dispense the load. We're looking for 28.5. It gets us up real close initially, and then it starts to trickle. You'll see that just turns very slowly, dropping a couple of grains at a time. And once the load is correct at 28.5, and the scale can verify it, we will get a tone saying it's okay to use the load. All right, count number 1. Okay, so we have our load ready. Our powder's measured out at 28.5. We're taking one of the pre-primed cases. We're going to set it down on top of this tray in case I make a mess. This funnel's not the greatest. I'm going to try and do this so you can see. Take my powder, just dump it into the funnel. Make sure it's empty. It is. Set it back on there. It'll start dispensing the next load. Check to make sure I didn't spill anything here. I didn't. And I'm going to set this round right there until I'm ready to put the bullets in place. There's another good one. 28.5 is our goal. Waiting for the all clear buzzer. It's waiting for a couple more grains. There it is. Again, everything went in. So we have to be extra careful here. The amount of gunpowder we're using here, there is enough room in the case for a double charge. And that would be the last thing on earth you want on a caliber like this. Blow the gun up, blow your hand up, whatever. It's a heavy duty weapon, but boy, oh boy, I mean, made solid. But if it goes, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, everything's going very smoothly. It's only 10 rounds. We'll be done shortly here. This is Hodgson Little Gun. It says shotgun powder on the label, but it can be used for a pistol. In fact, it was one of the recommended powders, so that's why we're using it. All right, there's number 10. I'm going to stop the dispenser, power it off because we're done. And that's it. Those 10 are ready to go. That's a 370 grain bullet. And then this is the next one we're going to do, which I almost fainted when I saw it. That is the 500 grain. God, that thing weighs, well, it weighs 500 grains is what it weighs. And if you got hit with that, you would know it. I'll tell you that much. All right, so I have my 10 bullets here. Remember, this is the actual bullet. When it's assembled and finished like this, that is a cartridge. This is a bullet. Everybody says, oh, bullets, let me, what kind of bullets do you have? Or can I buy some bullets? They mean cartridges typically, or in Europe, cartouche. But this is an actual bullet when you're talking about the components. All right, so we have our 10 rounds, or 10 bullets ready to go. See, I almost said rounds. They're not. 10. I have my 10 cases that have the powder and primers. So my first step is to set my die at the right height. So I'm going to take one of these bullets, set it in place, run my ram up. And let's see. Now, according to the manual, the overall length should be 2.065. So we should be long right now. Let's see where we're at. Using my caliper. Come around to you. 2.0. So we're at 2.1. It takes an inch, breaks it into 10 sections. So that's 1/10 of an inch. And then it breaks that 1/10 into 100 places. So we're dealing with thousandths of an inch here. So right now it's a 2.65 right over here. So we want to back this down that far. So in order to do that, we're going to take the die. I'm going to loosen up the seating part and crank it down a couple turns. Put the bullet back in again. The cartridge now, it's a cartridge, it's not a bullet anymore. And we'll keep measuring until we get it where we want it. Right at 2.65, that's about 2.82. Keep going a little bit more. Actually, that might have been too much. I'm going to back it off a wee bit. Rather be too long than too short. Here we go. Right now we're at about 273. So 2. And we're to the left of the 1. So we're 2073. Let's go a little bit more. About another 10th here. Not a whole bunch, just a little bit of an adjustment. Let's see what that does. And right now we're at 267. That's pretty good, but we're going to go ahead and bump it just a wee bit more. 2/1000th of an inch is all I'm trying to bring it down. Is it critical? Probably not. But lock everything in place. Let's see what that gives us. And we are at 2065 on the dot. So let me put that back over here. This is for my buddy Ben to see that we're setting the overall length to the correct length for the 500 grain Smith & Wesson 500. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and run a few now. Yep, just checking the last one, spot on. And that's our 10 bigger rounds. So now I'm just going to compare it to one of these. Okay, so it is definitely noticeable. I was just comparing. I wanted to know if I had to mark the 270s versus the 500s. But the 500s on this end right here are definitely taller. Definitely higher. So I don't really have to mark it. We'll see it for ourselves. So I have 4 more primed cases. These are the non-Magnum primers. These are just large rifle primers. And I'm going to load a couple of rounds with these primers just to see what the difference is between the Magnum primer and the non-Magnum primer. Once and for all. I just want to know once and for all what the difference will be. We'll know that on the range. I'm going to go ahead and mark these with my marker. Like this. Just simply put a little line across it so I know the difference of what's going on. Just like that. So that I know that these are the standard rifle rounds. We had originally loaded them all with rifle rounds, but as I mentioned, I backed some of those out and we went to the Magnum primers. So because I'm already set up for the 500, I'm going to load it with the 500 grain bullets. By the way, isn't that a cool looking box of bullets? When have you ever seen bullets that big? Isn't that amazing? That's pretty cool. Again, here's my 6mm Creedmoor that I shoot in competition. Or that I shoot for precision. 6mm Creedmoor. And look at that sucker. Isn't that something? This is 3/4 of an inch long, maybe more. Let's see what this is. That's maybe a full inch. That is 1.1 inches in length. And of course, because it's a 500 Magnum, it's a 50 caliber bullet. So it'll be 0.5. It is. So it's a 1/2 inch wide and an inch, 1.1 inches long. You don't want that piece of metal going through your body. This is used for hunting in Alaska, or hunting big game anywhere in the world. Carry this sidearm on your side in case your rifle fails or you get surprised. So, yeah, this is a heck of a round. So, with reloading, number 1 rule: safety. With anything with firearms, safety, 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 and it's with reloading is no exception. You must be safe. You must concentrate on what you're doing. Focus. No distractions. Find some peaceful, quiet time in your life and do your homework ahead of time. Make sure you have the correct information. Reference multiple sources if you can, especially if you're starting with a new round like we did today. I looked at probably 7 of my reloading manuals. and even went online, and then we ultimately went to the gunpowder manufacturer's website. In this case, it was Hodgdon, and went with the information that they had. It did happen to match my lead manual exactly, with the exception of the controversy over which primer to use, which wasted 4 hours of my life to figure out what we wanted to do. I'm just going to hold on tight and pull that trigger and see what the result is. How bad could it be? Two Gun Terry thanking Cousin Tom today for helping out, and we'll shoot this thing tomorrow at the range and get back to you with the result. Two Gun Terry, we'll see you then. I'm going to take one of these 370s and we probably want to see if they're accurate or not. That's our first thing. Holy!
All right, which ones are the 500s?
The ones in the middle.
These?
Yeah. All right, good one. So we got to film through this grate, unfortunately.
Am I sure about this, Terry?
Of course you are.
Oh, it's loaded.
Wait a minute. I want to make sure I get the top of your head to frame.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right, here we go, man. Holy moly.
Just hang on tight.
I'm holding on.
Ooh.
Woo!
Did he hit the target?
Yeah, man, I'm high.
This time, I'm going to go, those are with the Magnum primers, large rifle Magnum primers. This is with the large rifle non-Magnum. Let's see what this does. A little bit of controversy, but we're going to find out. That hurts even more. That was a look. Just hang on. It felt like the 500 Magnum or the 500 grain.
It probably kicks more with the lower primer. You think, 'cause it's a
I thought it
slower
kicked
burn?
more. Maybe I wasn't holding it tight enough. I'm not sure. Just grip the heck out of it. You come around here. There you go. You look normal.
Same spot. Well, let me tell you what. That one has more kick. More kick than the
And the Magnums do, right?
Magnums. Yep.
I thought so too.
So the primer makes a difference in the amount of pressure coming out of there because it's a slower burn coming out. So you get more recoil, Terry.
Apparently so.
Something to learn. All right, Terry is about ready to shoot this 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. Terry, anything you want to say here?
No.
Two Gun Terry.
All right, it's ready. Oh!
Woo!
That's how you do it, square in the middle.
This time pay attention to the shock wave that travels down my arm as I fire the weapon. Mamma mia.
Tommy's going to try the 370 round first. 370 grain. Go ahead, Cuzzy. You're going to aim at the paper first or the water jug?
I'm going straight for the water jug.
All right.
Oh boy.
Ooh, Nelly.
Oh boy.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, same with that other water jug. Actually, we got a... Yeah.
Woo!
Wow. Actually, it wasn't that bad.
And this is going to boom a little bit bigger.
This is the 500 grain round now. Oh! That's the way you do it. The vanishing soda bottle trick. You could do, make sure the rounds work. Don't forget, we made these bullets, so I'm not afraid of this gun anymore. I was afraid of it before.
Me too.
That's all I have for now. Thank you for stopping by. And remember to like, subscribe, and do what?
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.
Are you ready?
Two guns!